So I actually got this as a gift. So it's like a bottle holder. So you can say, hey, this guy could hold his liquor. Get it? But I'm going to repurpose it here. So we'll take this out. And we have our Bernie Williams bat here. And voila. Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees. Well, Brian Cashman and the Stanton camp have mended fences. There's been some shots fired over the past couple of weeks. Touched upon it the last episode, but kind of go over the whole thing again. I think there's still a little bit more underneath that, on the surface there, that we're actually seeing. But nevertheless, I'll get you caught up in all that. And now, finally, the Yankees do have their bench coach. It's official. It's Brad Ausmus, the former Major League player. And, of course, if you're a kid growing up in the 90s, if you play in Sega Genesis or Super Nintendo Baseball, at some point, Brad Ausmus would come up there, probably playing for Detroit at the time there. So you're probably familiar with the name. Been coached with it. Now he's official, the bench coach of the Yankees. So kind of give his whole background as a player as well as a coach. And, of course, now we're in the offseason, and there's going to be moves. Now, we did discuss some waiver wire stuff a week or two ago, but now you're starting to see Brian Cashman really clearing off this roster right now. So I'm going to say who's staying, who's going. There's been a signing ready, and as well as a trade. So kind of clearing space, which I think is good news that he wants to bring in some good quality players. So all good stuff. So before we get started, if you're watching right now on YouTube, make sure you subscribe if you haven't done it already. Go like the video as well, and maybe throw in a comment something I'm saying there, and you want to counteract it, you want to agree with me, throw it there in the comment section. Get things a little ramp it up a little bit, and of course get the early notice when episodes go up. If you happen to be watching this on TV, the show is available on YouTube. Go to YouTube, Section 420 Talkin Yankees, subscribe there, get the head start so you don't have to wait for TV. You should watch it on both anyway, because this is cool to watch it in the living room. And of course, you have the audio podcast version of the show, and those are episodes there that are not here. So there's separate stuff. So there's some Yankee news, but some Yankee history, some back stuff, maybe me being in Yankee Stadium. So stuff that you can't get anywhere else. So wherever you get your favorite podcast, Section 420 Talkin Yankees, the podcast, subscribe there. And as always, I like to say, cover all the baseball, cover all the bases. I ruined it there, but so I want to go with it. Cover all your bases, subscribe everywhere. So you may have read or noticed that there are kind of barbs going back and forth between Brian Cashman and Stanton and Stanton's agent there. So this all originates a couple of weeks ago. There was a tweet out there that Stanton would want to finish his career in a Yankee uniform. And of course, Cameron Maybin, the former Yankee player and teammate of Stanton, and I guess maybe they're friends as well, kind of put his take in that maybe Stanton's not exactly happy here and he doesn't really want to finish his career, and maybe he just wants to be shipped out somehow, which would kind of make sense because Stanton has been struggling a little bit. He's been getting booed by the Yankee Stadium faithful over the past couple of seasons. He's been underperforming, he's been hurt, all that stuff. So it's always ripe to someone wanting to leave the situation there. We don't know what the whole deal is. And then of course, after that, it got a little interesting when Brian Cashman came out making a statement regarding that for Stanton, basically injuries are going to be part of the equation for him. He's got to consider that at some point he's going to get hurt, which, I thought it was just him being matter of fact. I don't think he was throwing a shot at Stanton or anything like that. I don't think it was like a cheap shot like that. It's just, hey, it's the truth. I mean, we experienced it last year. We experienced it the year before that. We experienced it in 2019. We had to, leave the playoff game against Houston there after, running down first base there. So look, him getting hurt is part of the game. It's just something we have to always deal with. So I don't think Cashman was being nasty about that. But the way it got interesting that Stanton's agent, I believe his name is Joel Wolf, he kind of put a statement out after that, sort of like just sort of a reminder for any free agents that want to go to New York. You better have tough skin because you might even get shots by your own organization. So that seemed like maybe Stanton's agent answering back to Cashman there, so kind of throw a shot at Cashman there a little bit. So yeah, you had this little tiff going on. So now when you take the fact that is it out there that Stanton maybe wants to leave the Yankees, and maybe now his agent has this beef with Cashman, is one side or the other side trying to engineer a move to say, hey, we're both sides, we want to agree to ship him out somewhere. So that's what I think that's going on underneath there. But on the surface, of course, they smoothed it over. Cashman contacted the agent, kind of said that he didn't mean any disrespect by it, and supposedly now everything's okay. They mended the fences. So we'll see what it is. I guess they put out that little mini fire there, but I could definitely see the wheels in Cashman's head clicking that he would love to ship him out of here if possible. But the only reason it's just tough because he got about 3 years left on his deal, makes a ton of money, he's hurt. Is anybody going to want him? Probably not. And if you even entertain him shipping him somewhere, you're going to have to include a package to make it enticing, for example. So let's say someone's willing to take Stanton. The Yankees are probably going to eat some of the money, and you may have to include someone like Anthony Volpe. You're not going to include Jason Dominguez, but maybe someone like Volpe just to entice to get him shipped out of there. And again, I think Cashman would love to do that. But again, he just can't. So the Yankees are kind of hamstrung with him. You just have to hope that this offseason he just finds out whatever's going on with his swing. Because he can't be hitting sub 200. It hurts the team. It brings the whole team down. He's taking up a batting spot, and for what he's getting paid and what you expect him to do, you can't have him hit 194 there. So the Yankees, they're kind of almost stuck with each other because the Yankees can't move him, and Stanton has really no choice other than to get better and just try to stay off the IL there. So that's what's going on. And Cashman also put it that Stanton is part of their plans, which, again, I don't fully believe. I mean, the only reason he's saying it is because they're stuck with him. If Cashman could push a button to send Stanton out of here, he would push that button. Now, the Yankees filled their vacated hitting coach position with James Rosen, as reported, but of course we were still waiting on who was going to be the new bench coach, and that has to do with Carlos Mendoza leaving the Yankee organization to go manage the Mets. And it looks like the Yankees finally have that guy. Now, it was originally reported by Brian Hoke from MLB.com, but confirmed by the Yankees that Brad Ausmus will be introduced as the Yankees' new bench coach. He's, again, someone you're familiar with. He's been coaching for a couple of years, the former Major League player. And I actually like the move, mainly because he's a catcher, and catcher, as you know, they're good. They're almost like the quarterback on the field there. They have to watch the running game. They kind of move around the infield position players there. So they're kind of always thinking. They're always on the feet. Utilizing strategy. And you want to look at some more recent Yankee managers. Well, Joe Girardi, a catcher. Joe Torre, a catcher. So I like the idea of having a catcher out there again, just because their brain has to think about so many different things: the pitcher, the infield, the outfield, the hitter, all this stuff like that. So if you have like an analytical type of guy like that, on next to Boone there, I like the move there. So we'll get into Ausmus a little bit. Now, again, he's managed previously. That was with the Detroit Tigers. That was from 2014 to 2017. Took a year off after that, kind of whittling around, but then came back to manage the Angels of 2019. Now, his combined record is not really impressive. That's 314 and wins and then 332 losses. So lifetime 220 games under 500. Again, what does that really mean? This manager, you're on managing some terrible Tiger teams and a terrible Angels team where probably Trout was hurt and probably the entire whole season. So I don't really hold that against him, but just to throw out the numbers there. Now, more recently, he was the bench coach of the 2022 Oakland A's. So again, last year he wasn't in baseball, but last bench coach with the Oakland A's there. And as a player, spent 18 years as a player. Now, he was originally actually drafted by the Yankees, which I didn't even know originally, in 1987. And that was in the 48th round. So was originally Yankee, but funny enough, actually, Cashman was like kind of a little front office lackey around that time in '87. So maybe they bumped into each other somewhere at that point. So it's just kind of funny how he came back full circle. But as a player, 18 years in the majors, nothing great, but one All-Star appearance, and he won 3 defensive Gold Gloves there as a catcher. And again, once in a while he could play first base a little bit like that, but pretty much this guy was a catcher there. So that's your bench coach guy. Again, whispering in Boone's ear, I don't really put too much stock in this guy. I mean, as you know, these games are pre-planned ahead by Cashman ahead, and then Boone might make a few decisions, maybe bullpen-wise and matchups there. But I don't know how much the bench coach helps that much. Just maybe if you caught up, should we bunt here? Should we not bunt here? Maybe he gets a second opinion. So does he add maybe 2 wins to this team somewhere along the way with his knowledge? Probably, but I like him. Again, he's young, only 54 years old, so not too old school. So kind of in the middle there. He kind of came up in the 80s a little bit when it was, the game was a little different than it is now. So kind of seen the best of both worlds there. So that's a good mix. And again, he's about the same age as Boone there. So you have a situation where you have Boone in his 50s, and then you have like a 75-year-old next to him, and this doesn't seem like a good fit. So I think these guys could kind of co-chair each other. So I think it's a good pick by the Yankees, and again, hopefully it helps them, strategize and win some more games this season. And as every year Cashman does, he does this thing for charity where he sleeps outside. He does this, and he kind of, I think maybe that humbled a little bit, because when we saw Cashman originally, he kind of had the sunglasses on, dropping the F-bomb, and kind of being the evil, bad teenager Cashman. Now it seemed like after that, Cashman a little smoothed out a little bit. Again, mended defenses with Stanton's agent, like I mentioned before, and now rolled up his sleeve and started to make some roster moves to clean up the roster there. So you might have heard some of these already, but I'll kind of go over the whole thing just so you're up to speed. Now, obviously, we had that group from the waiver wires. That was the Domingo Herman, the Billy McKinney McKinneys of the world that they put on waivers. No one claimed them, so they all went to free agency. And again, I don't see the Yankees bringing any of them back there, but yeah, so kind of clears out the space there. So now, sort of like, you cleaning out your garage before a yard sale, something like that. You gotta clean things out. And so that's before you make a big move, whether it's Bellinger or Soto. Again, you gotta clean out the garage. So this is Cashman cleaning out the garage here. Now the first three here, these were players that were non-tendered, but they announced this almost weeks ago, so it's really nothing new, but now it's official. So the non-tendered players, these are players who will not be coming back, or they're at least going to go to free agency. If the Yankees want to bring them back for free agency, they could, but I still see it happening. That's Lou Trevino, who didn't pitch at all this past season because he needed Tommy John surgery. He came along with the Frankie Montas disaster of a deal there. Albert Abreu, who, had his ups and downs, but mainly downs in the Yankees as a reliever. But there's nothing there you see like, wow, sparkling, you'd want to bring the guy back. Let's say he threw like 102 miles per hour. It's like, all right, he's had some bad games, but he still wants to, maybe he could control that a little bit. But nothing about Abreu is worth bringing back, so he's going to be gone. And of course, last but not least, Anthony Maskowitz, the left-hander, who unfortunately, if you remember, got that comebacker up the middle in the game in Pittsburgh, hit off his head. Could have been a disaster, but looks like at least recovered from that there. But a scary moment for him. But unfortunately, he was non-tendered, so don't look for him to be back in 2024 at all. Now the players that were tendered, who you would expect to be coming back, is Trevino, Higgy, Michael King, the pitcher, Clay Holmes, the closer, reliever Jonathan Wajcika, and of course, last but not least, Nasty Nestor Cortez, and then those are all players you would expect to be back, and they are. Again, they're all in the contract, so you would see them, of course, next year. Now, it's going to be interesting, of course, with Trevino and Higgy, and of course, now Austin Wells is ready up. I think Higgy's going to be the odd man out. Obviously, you have him as well as Ben Rovette, who seem expendable. I think they want to start the season with, of course, Jose Trevino coming off his wrist surgery as a starter, and Wells kind of his protege. Again, he's been a Yankee in the Yankee system for a while, and we've been waiting for him, and, he was wow, he was batting average, but he held his own, hit a couple home runs. He was decently behind the plate, and again, Carlos Rodon's the small handful of games that he actually pitched well in. Austin Wells was behind the plate, so I think he could handle the situation there, and it kind of makes Rovette and Higgy expendable. You might have heard some news and rumors that maybe they want to try Higgy out in center field there, just as an option. I wouldn't want that at all. I mean, I think it's better for Higgy just to deal him somewhere and let him be a catcher. He's a very good catcher. I'm not saying he's a bum or anything or he's terrible, but obviously he's not enough space there, and I'd rather have Wells just because he's 24 years old. We drafted him to come to the system. We want to see what he could do, and plus he gives the Yankees a different look. He's a left-handed at bat. Now, I know Ben Rovette's a left-handed bat as well, but again, of the two, I'd rather go with Wells and Trevino as my catching duo, and if you find a way to trade Higgy somewhere, I don't want to go to a situation like we saw last year with IKF. Like, I know he tried his best, and he tried to find a spot for him, but like, trying IKF out in center and IKF out in left field now. IKF is pitching games for you. I mean, I don't think I want to like degrade Higgy to that level there. I'd just rather Higgy be a catcher. So probably Higgy's going to go elsewhere. And in addition to those moves, there's also been a trade. Now, Jake Bauers, who's still under contract, so the Yankees didn't really have to put him on the waivers or tender him in any way, but they outright traded him. So they sent him to the Milwaukee Brewers for a pair of prospects. That would be Josh Avina, as well as Brian Sanchez, both outfielders. Give the quick one on Avina, 20 years old, played in single A ball last year, hit 14 home runs, 10 stolen bases. Again, single A ball, I don't know, whatever. And other Sanchez, 19-year-old, a little younger. He's actually one level under. He's playing rookie ball, and he hit 297 in rookie ball. So basically trading Jake Bauers for two guys who knows where they end up and how they be. So, but at least, again, this is all about cleaning guys off the roster, which hopefully that means that Cashman is going to bring some good talent in there. And the Yankees need to get away from what I call like the Dollar Tree, the bargain basement type of players there. Again, I like McKinney, I like Bauers, but, they're at best, like someone way down at the end of the bench there. For the most part, the Yankees are depending on them, and if you're depending on them in your lineup, you're in big trouble, and that's why the Yankee offense was completely putrid in 2023. And also news with the Yankee roster, adding to the 40-man roster will be Clayton Beeter. Now, you may remember that name, Clayton Beeter. He was the pitcher the Yankees got from the Los Angeles Dodgers when they shipped out Joey Gallo. So Beeter will be on the 40-man roster, which means maybe at some point during the 2024 season, you might see Clayton Beeter. And he's actually been pretty good, so that actually, long-term, look at that deal. It might be something that turns out good for the Yankees as a starter. Now, I'll give you his numbers last year in the minors. Now, he split time between Double A and Triple A, so this is combined both levels, but here's his numbers. So he went 9-7, whatever. But an ERA, okay, 3.62 under 4. All right, you'd like to be a little bit low, but still not terrible. 165 strikeouts in 131.2 innings. So this guy's averaging more than 1 strikeout per inning. So that's what you like to see. And a whip of 1.37, which, again, okay, pretty good. Again, only 25 years old. And just the fact that he pitched between AA and AAA, and he's on the 40-man roster. Maybe at some point Cashman would like to bring him up here. So I don't think he's someone who's going to compete in spring training for a 5th starter role. Yankees are going to be pretty much stacked there, but maybe someone gets hurt in the middle of the season or something like that. Someone always, three different starting pitchers are going to pull a hamstring at once. It's going to happen, and maybe at some point that's where we see Beta for the first time, or maybe it's just they throw him in some sort of trade proposal that Cashman's working on there. So that's the deal with that. Now there's also been a free agency signing. So again, Yankees getting busy at bringing in an arm, and that'll be 26-year-old Yerry De Los Santos. I liked how you pronounce that, from the Pittsburgh Pirates. Now, obviously, he's not like a strikeout machine. He's kind of known as for his sinker ball, so he gets a lot of ground outs, gets a lot of players to beat the ball into the ground. And if you want to look at his stats from last year in Pittsburgh, played in 22 games, ERA of 3.33. All right, you're not wowed, but 3 is okay. 18 strikeouts in only 24 innings. A little less than a strikeout per inning there. But as I mentioned before, he's just known to induce ground balls. And he's probably a guy like, you bring in the 5th inning when there's 2 runners on and there's 1 out and you want to induce that, inning double play. That seems like a spot for this guy to do that and to get out of the inning there. So that'll probably be his role there. So again, the Yankees clearing up a lot of space, bringing 1 arm here, but of course there's still a lot of moves still to be made. Now, if we look at the big free agent pool there, one of the first big names kind of came off the list there. That would be Aaron Nola, who is going to rejoin the Philadelphia Phillies at the tune of $172 million. Not too bad for 7 years, 7-year deal there. But not really a surprise, and I don't think, really he was someone the Yankees would actually consider. I don't even think you really heard rumors that the Yankees were interested in him. Maybe they kicked the tires slightly. But I think if you're going to spend big money in the area, you might as well go for Yamamoto, which it seems like the Yankees are more interested in. Just makes more sense there now. Not saying, Aaron Nola is old. He's only 30 years old there, so the 7-year deal is not terrible. But, if you're going to throw big money at these guys, better off going for the 25-year-old Yamamoto, who, again, you still have an air of mystery over just how great he could be. And probably, more or less, he's probably going to be better than Aaron Nola there, hopefully. So, again, if you're going to spend like around $200 million there, I'd rather just go there for Yamamoto. So that's the first big name. I didn't think the Yankees are interested, but so he rejoins the Phillies. Now, of course, Ohtani, this thing's going to drag out a lot. Now, what we're hearing from the Ohtani camp is that he wants absolute secrecy in all these meetings. So if he meets with so-and-so, he does not want anything leaked out. And if something leaks out, he's going to assume that it came from that organization. And that organization could probably consider themselves from getting him there. So, and we've seen even Cashman do this stuff too when he was negotiating with Judge, when negotiating with Jeter there, kind of talking to the press of what he'd offer and stuff like that. So it doesn't seem like Ohtani wants any of that type of business. He wants everything under wraps there. So that's the way he wants to handle his business. How many teams are going to be going after him? I don't think the Yankees are going to be one of them, but you're probably looking at the Dodgers, you're probably looking at the Giants, probably looking at the Texas Rangers. So those are the teams there. But if something does leak out, obviously he's going to know who did it because he's going to have these separate conversations there. So I think that's smart on his part there. That's a good move. You don't hear that totally. Now, Yamamoto is not the only international player that the Yankees are interested in. So there's also a word out there that both the Giants and the Yankees are interested in a Korean superstar. His name is Lee Jong-ho. Now he's 25 years old. He's a center fielder, which would make sense for the Yankees. And then, right now, until Jason Dominguez comes back, center field is kind of void for the Yankees. But technically, right now, Estevan Florial is the center fielder, which, I don't think you're really excited about that. Only problem with him, after having an MVP season in 2022, he was the Korean League MVP. 2023 was not that good for him. He only had 6 home runs. And then in July, he had a season injury, ankle injury in July, which, so even if he does come in and play here in the States, supposedly he's not going to be ready until spring training there. So, if you bring him there, again, he's not going to be able to start right away. But you like the fact that he is a center fielder, which the Yankees need. He's a left-handed bat, which the Yankees need, and he's known to be a power hitter, which is always great for Yankee Stadium, so that's the winning formula. I just don't think it really just makes that much sense for the Yankees if you think of Jason Dominguez, who is going to be a center fielder of the future. If you have him coming back around July and you have this guy there, you're going to have a bit of a bottleneck. Now, Cashman did state previously that at least his plan for the offseason is to bring in 2 outfielders there. So, could who would be one of them? Maybe. And of course, you could have a million jokes of who's on first and who's in center field there. But nevertheless, obviously his name's going to be thrown in the hat. You have, of course, Bellinger, who's going to be probably, I think the Yankees are going to target. You have Juan Soto's floating around there. And of course, I proposed a trade last time with Gleyber Torres, setting him up to Boston to get Verdugo out there. So the Yankees have a couple options there. So if you want to bring in two, I just don't know who they're going to be. And why would you want to, break the bank and spend money on a guy like this gentleman from Korea there when you know you're going to have Jason Dominguez come back in July? So I don't know if it really makes sense. It just makes sense to kind of maybe have someone like Florial, or maybe just get like a major league kind of type backup talent there, just a stopgap solution to kind of hold down the fort till Dominguez comes back. And in the left field, that's probably where I think definitely the Yankees are going to make a move. So whether it's just signing Cody Bellinger straight up over free agency or making a trade for someone like a Verdugo, that would just make more sense for that. So for the Yankees, this guy could be enticing, but if you have Jason Dominguez coming back, it just doesn't really make sense. And of course, we got to say goodbye to former Yankee and Baltimore Oriole Zach Britton. Officially announced his retirement. Now, kind of ended sadly, which could have been a really promising career, but kind of ending his career early at age 35, and that's after 12 years in the majors, split between the Baltimore Orioles and the New York Yankees. Got traded from the Orioles to the Yankees. A kind of a rare trade between the ALS teams between them. Probably had his best year in 2015, and that's where he recorded 47 saves, had an ERA of 0.54 there, very impressive. Again, he was traded to the Yankees in 2018, and a two-time All-Star. And I guess his best run with the Yankees was kind of like, I'll say 19-20, where it was kind of the setup trio. Like, usually Boone would line up would be like Chad Green, Britton as the eighth inning guy, and setting up for Chapman. So that was kind of where he had his best run there. So had a good run. And of course, when it was the Baltimore Orioles, it just seemed like he was just basically untouchable there. I mean, just as an opposing fan watching him, I've always felt like we had no shot against him. He just had that sinker ball that he just threw in the dirt there. And he also had the ability to blow the ball by you originally when he came up like 97, 98 miles per hour there. So you really had no choice. You were pretty much a dead duck against the guy. So when the Yankees traded and brought him here, I was actually very excited. I don't think he was as good as a Yankee as he was with Baltimore, but it was still pretty good. And of course, in Baltimore, he actually dealt with the torn Achilles injury, so he kind of had to recoup from that a little bit. And unfortunately with the Yankees, he also had some arm issue, and he missed most of 2022. And you may recall that they tried to bring him back towards the end of the year, and that's kind of where the Yankees needed him a little bit in 2022, just because like Chapman was starting to falter a little bit, and it was like, I get nerves. Oh, who's going to close these games out? We thought maybe slightly that Britton could come back, because again, he did have experience being the Baltimore Oriole closer for so many years, and he closed a few games for the Yankees when they wanted to give Chapman a rest. So he had that ability, but he was kind of going to be maybe a solution for us. But of course, as he was warming up, I think he threw like one pitch or something. He went to the backstop, and they just had to take him right out of the game there. So, and then of course last year didn't pitch at all, and I guess he just finally decided that he just needed to shut it down there. So decent baseball career, decent Yankee, and I guess it was wish him his well in his retirement. And one of the more fun things in the baseball offseason is, of course, that, in the new year, you're going to have the Baseball Hall of Fame and the new class in there, and there's always a debate of, which new people are eligible and who's going to make it, who's not going to make it, and who are there kind of in the middle of the pack, or it's their last year eligibility and will they finally get in. Now, of course, some of those players have the ace in the hole with this whole, veteran committee where maybe, 15 years down the road, if they'll make it the normal way, they can still get voted in, which I'm not really the biggest fan of, but nevertheless, this is kind of the real Hall of Fame without that one, just the straight up Baseball Right Association being the ones who determine who gets in. So, a couple of returning names, of course, but of course, the big first name is going to be Adrian Beltre. So I'm actually going to go through the list here. We got the official Hall of Fame ballot, a little voting list thing here there. So I'll kind of just read off the names here and kind of give you my take on that, whether they got a shot. Again, the one that seems like the real sure bet will be Adrian Beltre. Has over 3,000 hits there and 477 career home runs, and very close to 500. Again, if you could hit the 500 home runs and you got over 3,000 hits, you're almost a shoe in there. So I think Beltre, you could definitely put that one in the bank. In fact, you even hear whispers that he might be the first unanimous one. Of course, Jeter's missed by that one mystery baseball writer that didn't vote Jeter, remember, a couple of years ago. So, but they feel Beltre might be the first to be unanimous there. So let's see what happens with that. So other than that, you have Bobby Abreu. Again, former Yankee, good contact, good hitter there, but not a Hall of Fame player whatsoever. Jose Bautista, good power hitter there, but not a Hall of Fame, and his last final years injury plagued, and again, nothing that you would say Hall of Fame. Carlos Beltran, you could make a case there, and I think over time people are going to be warmed up to him. I don't know if he gets in this time, but I think over the long course of time, at some point, I think he will get in. If you just look at his numbers as a switch hitter in the center field and what he did there, he's up there with some big name players there. So I think he won't get it this year, but he will get it eventually. Beltre, I already mentioned. Not Beltran, Beltre. Mark Burley, the pitcher. No, I know he had the two no-hitters, the two perfect games, but those are just two great games. And again, a good career, former champion with the 2005 White Sox, but not Hall of Fame-esque type of player there. Adrian Gonzalez, no, don't see that. Again, a very good hitter like Bobby Abreu, but not Hall of Fame. Bartolo Colon, who actually, if you don't know, he's pitching in that Dubai league at like age 53. Again, good face of the game there, and kind of a bit of a character. And kind of the middle part of his year kind of squandered around a little bit. It seemed like, but later sort of resurrected himself. But nothing there you would say this guy's a Hall of Famer. Todd Helton, the hitter there for Colorado. You can make a case of him. I think he's very close. He's almost, I'll put him almost up there with Carlos Beltran. He might get in at some point, but people are also going to hold it against him that he played all those years in Colorado, where even like myself could probably hit some home runs maybe on a lucky windy day. Matt Holliday. Closest, but I just don't think he has enough there. Torrey Hunter, longtime center fielder there for the Minnesota Twins. You just don't see anything that begs Hall of Fame. Interesting one here, Andrew Jones. Now, he had a long, lustrous career. Nothing like any big milestones, but again, played a lot of years on those Atlanta Braves teams. One of the best defensive center fielders in the game, in the history of baseball there. Just don't think there's enough there for, say, Hall of Fame. He's kind of someone I would put almost like, an Andre Dawson, who probably couldn't get voted in, but would be eventually elected in by the baseball veteran committee there. But don't see Andrew Jones coming in there. Victor Martinez, no. Joe Mauer. I know he had a couple MVPs there as a catcher there, but you got to look longevity of his career there. I just don't see enough there for the Hall of Fame. Andy Pettitte, we would like to say yes. Again, one of the greatest postseason pitchers of all time. But if you look at his regular season body of work, only won like 20 games like once. Never got that illustrious Cy Young award there. And of course, hanging out with the bad boy Roger Clemens there and some of the Mitchell Report stuff, I just don't think they'll ever let him get it. And unfortunately, that's just the way it is. Brandon Phillips, second baseman for the Reds for many years, and now no way. Manny Ramirez. Again, allegations with Manny Ramirez. Otherwise, I say he'd be a shoo-in, but of course, there's multiple PED allegations regarding him, so he will never get in. Jose Reyes, no, I don't see that as well. Alex Rodriguez should be. Unfortunately, I just don't see it happening, and I think it's someone like there'll be a reckoning down the road where maybe they'll put A-Rod in, they'll put Clemens in, they'll be Barry Bonds in, but probably all those guys will be in a wheelchair when it happens. So unfortunately, that's just the way it is. Francisco Rodriguez, F-Rod. The longtime closer for both the Angels and the Mets. Very good closer there, but I don't put him in the category of like a Trevor Hoffman or a Mariano Rivera. Now, interesting enough, Billy Wagner is on the list. I think he's got a shot close there. I don't know if he gets in this year, but I think at some point he would. I'd put almost Wagner up in that Hoffman, Mariano, a little bit class there. I don't know about K-Rod, as they would call him. Former Met David Wright. Unfortunately, his career was cut short with a lot of this neck and back injuries there. And if he played a full career, maybe he can make the case, but there's not enough there to say Hall of Fame, so don't see that one there. Omar Vizquel, again, knows really for his defensive prowess more than anything else. You can make he sort of gets like the Ozzie Smith sort of treatment there. So Ozzie Smith, you're gonna say him, but I just don't see enough there. Chase Utley, again, unfortunately had some great years with the Phillies, but again, some injuries later on. I know he bounced around a little bit with the Dodgers there, but I don't see anything that screams Hall of Fame. And the last but not least, let's say Gary Sheffield, who's on his final year of eligibility. I know he's right there at the 500 home runs there, but I just think they're going to say the era he played in, a lot of guys were hitting home runs, and unfortunately I think they're holding it against him. So of all those players, the only sure bet I see is Adrian Beltre. Well, I hope you enjoyed the episode. Now, again, we're right around the corner here of the holiday season, so if you really want to treat yourself to a gift, make sure you subscribe on YouTube, Section 420 Talkin Yankees, as well as the podcast, wherever you get your podcast, Section 420 Talkin Yankees, get covered, and give yourself the best holiday gift ever.